What's up, Raider Nation? The Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here. Coming up on this episode of the Silver and Black Lair Raiders edition, we'll be talking first preseason game, Raiders versus Vikings. Raiders fall to the Vikings 24-23. I'll tell you my thoughts on the quarterback competition as to where it stands right now, how both quarterbacks looked, again, in my eyes. And then also, some other things I took away from the game. Again, it's just preseason, so just a couple small things. So I'll be talking about that, and whatever you guys throw out there, we'll touch on and go from there. So I will be back in 44 seconds. Please stay tuned. What's up, Silver and Black Nation? It's the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here with the Silver and Black Lair Las Vegas Raiders edition. Raiders! Hell yeah. All right, Raider Nation. What do we got going on here on a Manic Monday? I don't know what else to call it. Monday Fun Day. That's what I used to call it when we played football. Coach Keating, legendary Coach Keating from Pottsville Area High School, my high school football coach. Monday, Fun Day, Tuesday, Blues Day, and Wednesday, Team Day, and Thursday, what do you call Thursday? Thursday, I think you just see Thursday, walkthrough day, and then Friday, of course, game day. But Monday, Fun Day was usually the running we do after a game. We'd have our games on Friday for high school, and then coming back from that Monday, we'd have some running. I don't remember. It was I think it was timed sprints, if I remember correctly. Timed hundreds, and then we'd watch film from the previous game, and then some film from the upcoming game. Some film for the upcoming game, and then Tuesday Blues Day was, the first practice with pads on after a game. And it always meant a lot of hitting. Then Wednesday was game planning day, where you do team offense, team defense, and at the end of the practice, you guys would get together and kind of scrimmage against each other. And Thursday was your final walkthrough, and then we'd go over special teams. Then Friday, of course, game day. So, I miss those days. I'll tell you what, I miss that. I miss that terribly. I never thought I would say that. Because when you're going through it, especially the timed hundreds on Mondays after a game, especially if you lost, it was even worse. I hated it, but man, I miss it now. Of course, we have a comment, and it's of course Miss Eileen. What's up, Eileen? She says, "LOL. I put this on a few minutes ago while I was waiting, and I forgot until the music came on, and I'm like, where the is this music coming from?" I tell you what, Eileen, that would have freaked me out, especially if I would have forgot about it. Put it on early and just waiting. And I started listening to paranormal podcasts. Because I listen to a lot of sports podcasts. I like to try to see how other podcasters do their shows, what they're doing different than me, and how I could get better. And Like for instance, I do a lot of and then I'll also do, what's the other thing that I do a lot of is I say a lot. So that's just one of those things. So I like to listen to other podcasts, sports podcasts, to see how they differentiate, how they sound, how many times do they say or whatever, or how do they fill that void when they're trying to remember what the hell they're trying to say. So a little bit of sports burnout. So I needed something a little bit different in my ears. So I started listening to a paranormal podcast, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm hooked on this. And one of the things is, it's a lot of the paranormal experiences they talk about on the show. It'll be, stuff turning on or stuff turning off or moving or whatever. So I can imagine I'd be all freaked the hell out if I forgot that I turned on a podcast like this, just waiting. So it's all quiet until the show actually comes on. Then all of a sudden the music hits. Like, what the hell is that? Is it spirits? I don't know. So yeah, that freaked me out a little bit. And then, of course, we have our boy Paul Spencer checking in. Voila! What's up, Paul? Thanks for checking out the show. And the mayor of Las Vegas, Vegas Rob, checking in. We will have Vegas Rob on. I have to get with him for a date, but we'll have him on as a special guest before the season starts so we can kind of go over the season and maybe we'll do a game-by-game prediction or something like that. He says, what's up, Kenny? Hashtag Raiders. Just win, baby. Roll Tide. That's for the Pottsville Crimson Tide, not the Alabama Crimson Tide, which I have nothing against the Alabama Crimson Tide. I am not a Bama hater. My brother is an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. And I know plenty of Alabama Crimson Tide fans. They're fine people. They're good, upstanding citizens for the most part. So nothing against that. But the Roll Tide is for the Pottsville Crimson Tide, which was our alma mater. Rob, I went to school with Rob. Paul says, I watch Ken Fry. He is the gold standard of podcasting. Yes, gold standard, like that wrapping on a chocolate bar. And Dave says, what's going on, big man? What's up, Cowboy Dave? So we got Paul Spencer here. You can check Paul out tonight, I do believe, with the his UFC show. What's it? Is it? I don't remember now. Is it Inside the Octagon? I think is that what it's called? Or see that? I'm messing it all up now. But anyway, yeah, there's the ums now to fill in missing spaces and stuff like that. The missing spaces in my head. See, also he does Dem 215 Boys this Wednesday. Talking Dallas Cowboy football. Of course, the Raiders' next preseason game is against the Cowboys. So be sure to check out those shows. And Cowboy Dave, we got our boy there, Cowboy Dave. He does MLB Extra Innings with Joe Sullivan. I believe they're on this Tuesday. I will go over the schedule a little bit later on at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But I'm just giving these guys a shout out, guys that are very important to the network. Saying Cowboy Dave is also on with Paul on Wednesdays. Cowboy Dave, Cowboy Show, get it? On Wednesdays, Dem 215 Boys talking Cowboys. And Dave is also with me, amongst other cast of characters with the Atomic Drop podcast, talking WWE wrestling. This weekend is my work weekend, so I will not be on. So stay tuned for that. I believe they'll go on probably a Friday night, I would assume, but we'll put that out there as soon as we know when I go over the schedule here. Paul says, Inside the Octagon. That's what I thought. I hesitated, Paul, because I'm like, wait a second. Is it Inside the Octagon? I doubted myself. And as the gold standard of podcasting, like you said, I should not be doubting myself. Talking UFC 305 this weekend and some boxing events from this past weekend. That's all tonight at 8 p.m. All right. So let's just get into it here so I can go to bed. Preseason game number 1. All right. And so here's the important thing with preseason games. You got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. You really do. You're looking for specific things. As a fan, this is what you should be doing. Now that you have your fanatics where they want perfection out of preseason games. They want, to see really, really specific things. Then you have the fan that understands that the preseason games are meaningless, but they still want to see specific things. They want to see specific players for reasons, specific reasons. And then you have the casual follower who gets pissed off when the Raiders lose a preseason game and they don't understand what's going on. It doesn't matter. And, like, oh, look at Minshew is, 6 for 12. What's he doing? That's a 50% completion, blah, 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 blah. So I fall in the middle. I understand that it's a preseason game. It doesn't mean anything. Win or lose, it's meaningless. But there are specific players and specific things that I want to see. I want to see how they perform, but also understanding in turn that they may not be facing the top competition from the other team. They may not be facing top schemes from the other team. A lot of times teams go vanilla in preseason games, or as vanilla as possible while still being competitive. So, because it doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter if you want to lose, but you want to be competitive because you want your team to feel that competitiveness, and you want to see how they react to that competitiveness, so how they react when something goes wrong, how they react when something goes right, and how do they respond to certain things, certain situations. And the only way you can do that is to get it as competitive as possible without letting the cat out of the bag of all your little tricks and stuff like that. So I understand the preseason. I take it for what it is, and I don't think most players are made in the preseason. Now there are some players that are made where there's competitions and stuff like that. And again, that's one of the things that I'll be talking about today. That's the biggest topic in Raider Nation is the quarterback competition. So then in that situation, players are made and made through the preseason games and stuff like that. It's not just preseason camp, but you also have to look at what's on film and through the game situations, because there's only so many things that you can do throughout practice to set up those situations. And I always say, if you get an opportunity to play more games, play the games, because you learn more about yourself. And there's certain situations that arise in any game, at any sport, that you just don't think of in practice, or you just don't practice it because it's either rare or just hard to replicate, like special teams and such. It's like my daughter, for instance, not to get too too far away from the football talk here in preseason, but my thought always has been, if you have an opportunity to play in a game, whether it's with a pickup tournament on a travel team, or if it's a rec game over a practice, I feel like you should do the game, because there's certain things that happen in games that just aren't replicated or aren't duplicated or are not gone over in practices, whether it's just not thought of or whatnot. And reactions are different in practice than they are in games and stuff. So I think you get more out of the games than you would in practice. And anybody that's played sports, I think would tell you the same thing. You could practice like $1,000,000 and go out there and lay an egg on game day. You could practice like garbage and go out there on game day and play excellent. So there's practice players. There's guys that just show up for practice that win the Super Bowls at practice. Then there's the Super Bowl winners, and those are the guys who go out there and win the Super Bowls at the actual game. So there's that. I mean, I'm not saying that preparation isn't important and practice isn't important. I'm just saying that the games are the most important thing, whether it's preseason or not. You get to see how your players react. Spur of the moment, quick. They're getting hit. They're being pressured. So the gold standard just went to silver. Yes, we did. We just went to silver. Cowboy Dave says, "Hey, big man, can you give a shout out to my brother Rich? Today is his birthday. I appreciate it. Happy birthday, Rich. I don't know how old you are, but for you to survive this long being Dave's brother, I tip my hat, sir. There you go. Happy birthday to Rich, Cowboy Dave's brother. Dave, is he a Cowboy fan as well? I'd like to know that. I look for depth and how new players fit the scheme as well, but you can't even look at QB1 battles because none of the one weapons are playing together. It's too vanilla to make a final judgment." And so Paul, so getting into the quarterback competition with the Raiders here, normally I agree with that. But with this being, it appears to be a true blue quarterback competition, the Raiders did have the starters playing the whole first half in the first preseason game. Now, that may sound surprising, but if you remember, the preseason was cut down by a game. So it used to be 4 games, now it's 3 games, where in the past, the first game for the preseason, when it was a 4-game preseason, the first game, there's a decent opportunity, decent chance you wouldn't even see the starters at all. If you did, it was one series, and that was it. And then your second preseason game, usually you'd see your starters for at least a quarter, quarter and a half, maybe sometimes the whole first half. Third preseason, you'd see them definitely for the first half and coming out to the second half to see how they come out for the second half. And your fourth preseason, you would see them all just to kind of stay away from injury. So with the Raiders playing all their starters, most of their starters, the full half of the first game of the preseason, some people were kind of up in arms about that. Why are they doing that? Blah, blah, blah. It's the first preseason game. The starters should be only out there for a quarter or maybe even just a series or two. It depends on how you look at it. So from 4 to 3, do you take that first preseason game, because there's only 3, you take that first preseason game as you would take your second preseason game, and then your second preseason game, how you used to take your third preseason game, and of course your final preseason game, would you take that how you would before, where you just won't play any starters? So that's what I think the Raiders might be doing right now, playing all their starters. You want to see how your quarterback competition, how they react, how they play with all the right ones in there, with all the ones in there. Now, I don't think they're out there throwing all sorts of crazy plays. I think it's very vanilla offense, but still, you want to see how they react and how they play with the ones. You can't have a real true quarterback competition if you throw one quarterback out there with your top receivers, and then the next quarterback's out there getting the guy that's, the undrafted rookie free agent and, a couple practice squad guys. You're not getting the same set then. You're not getting the same the competition's not on the level, is what I'm trying to say. And it's the same thing with the teams that they're going against as well. So if you send like this, the Raiders first preseason game, you had Aiden O'Connell start the game. He got a quarter. Minshew got a quarter. So the quarter for Aiden O'Connell was just one series, unfortunate for him, whereas Minshew, I think, got 3 or 4 series. But as Aiden O'Connell starts the game, he's more likely to play against the ones than what Minshew would as the second quarterback to come in the second quarter. It depends on how the other team is playing it. Now, against the Cowboys coming up, I'm not sure how the Cowboys played their first preseason game. Depth chart wise, did they play their starters at all? Do they play their starters for a series? Do they play their starters for a quarter? Whatever, what have you. But I would imagine they'd probably play their starters a little bit longer. Some of them, not all of them, some of them during this next game. So now what the Raiders will do with the quarterback, Antonio Pierce was on during a press conference after the game, this past preseason game, did say that he's hoping to have a quarterback named, the starting quarterback named after this upcoming preseason game. So I think some of that depends on what competition they're going to face against the Cowboys. So like you can't so if Gardner Minshew goes out there, he starts the game this week because Aiden O'Connell started last week. So you have Gardner Minshew come out and start this game. He's going against the ones, for his quarter, and then you have Aiden O'Connell. Let's say Gardner Minshew goes, 6 of 13 for 55 yards, a touchdown, and interception. Let's just, hypothetical. Didn't look great. Didn't look overly terrible. Looked okay. But then you have Aiden O'Connell come out and he's facing, 2s and 3s in the second quarter, and he lights it up. He goes, 9 for 10, 111 yards and a touchdown. So you can't compare that. That's not on the same level. I don't know if that would give Gardner the leg up then or not. I'm not really sure, but I think they have to really they're sitting down with these quarterbacks trying to figure out who the starting quarterback is, I think one of the things they have to look at is what competition they're facing in these games as well. I don't know how you would judge that or how you would figure that in, but I feel like that's something they would have to take into as a factor. Rob says, I want to see Minshew become the starter. So after watching, my personal opinion, after watching the first preseason game, you see the stats right here. Gardner Minshew, 6-12, 117 yards, a touchdown. Aiden O'Connell, 7-9, 76 yards, and no touchdowns. Both quarterbacks played very well, actually. The 6-12 for Gardner, doesn't look great, but he moved the ball downfield. He moved the team up and down the field. He put the points up. 17, I believe he put up 17 of the 20 points. The Raiders were up 20-7.5. So he put the points up. He moved well in the pocket. That's one thing for Gardner Minshew, and he was able to run for a first down. I do remember the one series he ran for a first down. So there's that. And that's one of the big things that really hurt us last season with Aiden O'Connell's. He had opportunities to move in the pocket. His pocket awareness stinks, and he had opportunities where he could actually run for a first down or scamper ahead for a couple of yards or what have you. So seeing Gardner Minshew do that does give you a little bit more excitement. But then if you watch Aiden O'Connell, again, pocket presence not really there yet. He did move up in the pocket once or twice. I saw that. I really liked it. He looked really good. Good awareness there, but he also did take a sack, which hurt the Raiders, but it didn't hurt the Raiders. So on that play, it was a bit of a broken play. I think it was two receivers. I'm not sure who they were. Kind of bumped into each other, knocked each other out of the play. So he was kind of stuck. He was stuck. At those times, either you got to tuck the ball and run, or throw it away and just let your special teams kick it. You don't want to be hanging on to that ball and giving the defense an opportunity to swipe it out of your hands or whatever. So you look at Gardner, looked great. Running the offense. He looked comfortable running the offense. He moved in the pocket well. So there's that plus for him. You look at Aiden O'Connell. He got the ball. So real quick. I get kind of getting ahead of myself here. The Raiders come out on defense. They kind of get pushed around. They started on defense first. They kind of get pushed around. They bent. The Vikings all the way down to the 5-yard line, and the Raiders were able to hold. They're able to deflect a pass in the end zone on 4th down. They're able to hold. So Aiden O'Connell, his first series in the first quarter, starts on his own 5-yard line, and he's able to march it all the way down into the Minnesota's half of the field. I can't remember what yard line it was. Well, it's also 76 yards. So 76, for 50 down. I think it was the 25-yard line. 20-yard line, I think it was. 20-yard line, somewhere around there. And he's able to march it all the way down into Minnesota territory, into field goal range, into the red zone before it stalled out and he took that sack. So that's a hell of a drive. It really was. He made some really strong throws. Hit Brock Bowers on a nice pass play for Brock Bowers' first reception as a Raider, which was great to see. He also missed a couple passes. There was a couple passes. I think there was a pass. I think it was to Brock Bowers. I shouldn't say missed. He was late getting the ball out, or either he was late getting the ball out or he threw a little bit behind, which, you hit these guys in stride, they could lead to bigger plays. So instead of, I think it was a 10, 12-yard play, maybe that could have been a 25, 30-yard play, or maybe even break it open. So stuff like that, but still, the arm talent is definitely there with Aiden O'Connell. I really like Aiden O'Connell's arm and his poise that, actually just standing there in the pocket, it does take some balls, and, I'd say he has it. So I do like his arm talent, but I like Gardner Minshew's feet and his swagger. So if there was any way we could, just mash these two guys together somehow in some sort of centrifuge or whatever, I don't know, reverse osmosis or something, I don't know. just get these two guys into one, make them one quarterback. I think the Raiders would be in really good shape. But it's two different guys, and either one, I think the Raiders aren't in bad shape with. To be 100% honest with you, I think with either one of those guys, I could see either one of those guys taking control of the offense, moving the ball. I think a lot of it's going to come down to offensive line play, which was up and down last season, and how the Raiders run the ball. If you remember back to last season, one of the biggest struggles was Josh Jacobs not being able to run the ball. And it wasn't all on Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, he did hold out last season. So he didn't come back. He didn't join the team until I think it was right before week 1, if I remember correctly. So there were so many different things last week that came into play last year, I should say. Last year, it came into play with the Raiders' offense being kind of anemic, poor play calling. Josh McDaniels not really letting your quarterback audible or your receivers, break off routes or whatever. So there's so many different things that came into play to poor offense last year. I feel like we're going to see a different offense this year. Luke Getsy, I'm interested to see how his offense comes to fruition. I don't know if that's the right word or not. That's the word I'm going with here. It's already out there. It's too late now. But I'm interested to see how it's ran by these quarterbacks. It looked good under Aiden. It looked good under Gardner. So there's no clear front runner now, is what I'm getting at. So we'll see against the Cowboys. From stuff I've heard from some of the other Raider fans and stuff, that they're saying that a lot of Raider fans feel that, like, Gardner Minshew, this is an offense that's built specifically for his skill set. So, Gardner Minshew should have the leg up, but I wouldn't count Aiden O'Connell out by any stretch there. Cowboy Dave says his brother, whose birthday it is a Eagles fan, unfortunately. How old is your brother, Dave? Is he as old as you? 60? Dave, you're 60, right? Aren't you? You're pretty close to 60, I think. Paul says, I like Minshew, honestly, as week 1 starter. Yes, before third game, it was the final curtain call of who you had as listed ones. I missed that. Now, 90% of teams one series the entire preseason. Yeah, and I hate that. I absolutely hate that. That's one of the things that I do believe McDaniels did last season. It was awful. None of the starters played, or if they did play, it was like one series the whole preseason. And you see teams do that, and they start the season off sluggish. And I heard an ESPN commentator, I think it was ESPN. It was either an ESPN commentator or somebody from the NFL Network, saying a lot of teams use the first couple weeks of the regular season kind of as their preseason. I'm like, why would you do that when you have a preseason still? It's not like there's no preseason. I understand not wanting the injuries, but if you're going to go out there and shit the bed the first 2 or 3 games because your guys aren't up to speed yet, they're still working through some bugs or kinks because they didn't have a preseason, that's moronic. That's idiotic. You're already starting behind the 8 ball. So that doesn't make sense to me, but that some teams do it. It doesn't make sense at all. Paul says, all I know is Trey Lance is bad. Overthrown balls, not leading the receivers, 2 wide open shots in end zone by 5 yards and threw 5 yards out of bounds. Balls thrown to receivers, wrong shoulders. It sounds like you better give Dak a lot of money. What's the other lad? Cooper Rush. I don't know what you guys are thinking there in Cowboy land, but I would stick with Dak. But I get it. Dak has not really gotten he hasn't done anything. I mean, he's put up some nice stats, but he hasn't really done anything. So whenever it's time to step up and show out big, he kind of crumbles. So I don't know if I would say Cooper Rush is better, but you never know. It's a decision that Jerry's going to have to make. CeeDee Lamb, does he stay? Does he go? Hey, Joe Sullivan checking in. What's up, Joe? He says, what's up, Ken? He says, Raiders. He says, Minshew is probably the guy, you think? Deep down, I do think that Minshew will get the nod. I still see. Uh, I hesitate saying it because I see a world in where I could see either one of these guys getting a week one start. I just think Minshew's mobility gives him the edge over Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell's more accurate, stronger arm, but the biggest thing is you don't want a guy out there making too many mistakes or taking like sacks. The one of the biggest things about Aiden O'Connell last season was the sacks that he took. That really backs your team up, and that easily could flip the whole field, or it could easily take you out of field goal range, stuff like that. At least at the very least, the one thing we know as Raiders fans, at the very least, let's get field goals. That's one thing that the Raiders usually do well. Uh, that's usually one of the Raiders. What the Raiders uh, do well is they do get field goals. Unfortunately, we don't get touchdowns as often as we'd like, but we still do kick the ball through the uprights. And that's, you can't have a guy turn the ball over down the red zone, and you cannot, or yeah, what do they call it? Do they call it the black zone, or when you're in field goal range? When you're in field goal range, you can't have a guy turn the ball over, and you can't have a guy taking unnecessary sacks. And that's the one thing where I think Minshew could really help the Raiders is he won't take the unnecessary sacks because he does move well in the pocket. So hearing the one podcast host talking about it, he says Minshew is a little bit predictable as to how he rolls out of the pocket because he always rolls to the right. I don't know about that. I didn't notice, but I don't get paid to notice that stuff. I'm just watching the game. So you can check Joe out on the Sully Squad. Talking 4for4 Eagle Sports. He'll be on tonight, 6 p.m., I believe. Again, I'll talk about the schedule later on. But he is the next show on Out of the Box Sports Network. The Sully Squad will be live tonight, talking Philly sports. So you have the Phillies, the Eagles. Hockey season's right around the corner. Basketball season's not that far off either. So you have Flyers, 76ers, all that good stuff. So be sure to check that out. And also, Joe does the Extra Innings podcast with Cowboy Dave on Tuesdays, talking all Major League Baseball. Hey, at Kim checking in. What's up, Kim? Thank you for checking the show out, and thank you for commenting. She says, let Minshew Mania begin. Good morning, Ken. Good morning, Kim. Yeah, it seems like it. That's just the feeling that I get is I feel like this is Minshew's job to lose now. Some of the stuff that I heard throughout the first couple of weeks of training camp was that Minshew, they feel neither quarterback really played all that great during training camp, looked all that great during training camp. But the consensus feeling, the consensus people that were there, not coaches or anything like that, but just spectators there that you can see online or you hear through different podcasts, was that Minshew has the leg up on Aiden O'Connell. And one thing about Aiden O'Connell he does have going for him is that Antonio Pierce likes him, Devontae Adams likes him, and those are two guys that you want on your side when you're going through something like that. So going through a competition, you want the head coach and the top receiver on your side. Not saying that Antonio Pierce doesn't like Gardner Minshew or whatever, but he was behind AOC, Aiden O'Connell, and especially even coming into the season, Aiden O'Connell is the number one until he's not the number one. So he has faith in him. Paul says Minshew can extend plays and climb the pocket, better experience, better pocket awareness. Yeah, Aiden O'Connell's pocket presence so far in his young career is trash. But again, like I said, this first preseason game, you did see him climb the pocket a couple times where you wouldn't have saw that last year. He would have stood tall. He would have stood in there. Like I said, the guy has guts. He would have probably taken it a sack, and all the Raider fans, including myself, would have been pissed off. Just saying throw the ball away or get rid of the ball because he's holding on to it too long. But he did, like I said, he did move. He did climb the pocket. He did move up in the pocket a little bit, and that sack that he did take to stall the drive out, there was a couple receivers that ran into each other, ran wrong routes, and kind of messed that whole play up. So Rob says, I'm on the Zamir train as well. Let's get this thing rolling. Zamir White looked fantastic. Such a strong runner. Not as fast, not as quick as Josh Jacobs, but I like the way the man goes north and south. I liked what I saw last year. I liked what I saw in the first preseason game. I also liked Alexander Mattson. I thought he looked good as well in the first preseason game. I want to pull up their stats here real quick. But the whole Raider game, as a whole, I thought wasn't too bad, especially for having some of the offensive linemen out that we did have out. So looking at the running backs, Zamir White, 6 carries, 23 yards. He had that touchdown late in the game. They brought him back out for a touchdown, short yard situation. I like Zamir because he runs hard, he runs strong. He's a very powerful back. I mentioned before, the dude is just straight jacked. You watch some of his press conferences from last season where he's wearing no sleeves in his shirt. It's like, Jesus Christmas, the dude is a monster. And then listen to him talk. He's a hillbilly monster. It sounds like, he has a bit of a twang to his voice there, and just the way he talks, it's fantastic. Yeah, that's my running back there. I was a big Josh Jacobs fan. So I'm rooting for Josh Jacobs, even though he seems to be a little bit bitter. But I'd like to see Josh Jacobs do well in Green Bay. But now it's Zamir White, it's a Z train, and all aboard for this one. Alexander Mattson, he got the ball a couple times, 3 carries, 15 yards. Sincere McCormick, who I've heard a lot about the last couple seasons since the Raiders. I think he was undrafted free agent. I think it was 2 years ago. He had 11 carries, 32 yards. He ran the ball well, I thought. Then you had Anthony Brown Jr., who was the third string quarterback. I felt bad for that lad. He was under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. That poor guy. Dylan Labe, 4 carries, 8 yards. Again, you're running with second and third and fourth string offensive line. It's hard to get the holes. But overall, I was happy with the running game. I think it's going to be our biggest asset. I think the Raiders' offense is going to go only as far as the Raiders' run game takes it. It's going to be hop on Zamir's back and let's go for a ride. And you'll have your quarterbacks making plays, but they're not going to be asked to make as many plays as what maybe a top tier or a pass heavy type offense is. I think this is going to be mainly a run type offense with a short passing game. That's what I expect anyway. I'm not sure what Luke Getsky's offense is going to be. We'll have to wait and see. I know that the run style is his zone run style, which is very beneficial for your offensive linemen, and it's also very beneficial for your running backs. One cut and go. Find that hole and go, and running back for the offensive lineman. Clearing out, hat on hat, clear out, hat on hat. So, find the guy, hat on hat, clear him out. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch once they get it rolling. Receiver wise, I thought the receivers looked good. No Davante Adams. His wife did have a baby, so he's due back to practice this week. But I guess he's. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago he left training camp to go be with his wife as she was having a baby, and baby is out in the world. Congratulations to Davante Adams. I know he's a big fan of the show. He tells me all the time when we talk. Never talked to Davante Adams. But anyway, if I did talk to Davante Adams, he might be a fan of the show then. But yeah, congratulations to Davante Adams and family, and good luck with all that baby stuff. It's a blessing, and it leads you down. I don't know if it's his first kid or not, but for those out there who don't have a kid or whatever, hope one day to have children, it's a blessing. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot of hard work, and The unfortunate part is that it goes like this, gone. It's just it moves so fast, and you look back at it, you look at picture. That's why pictures are so great. I love pictures. You look at pictures or videos, and you're just like, man, I remember that. And it's like, man, it's kind of depressing. That it's like one day you wake up and you know they're already growing a mustache, and that's your daughter. So I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. Just in case she was watching. All right. So to get off Devontae Adams' wife having a baby, Trey Tucker, I thought he looked all right. A lot of uh, mixed reports coming out about him through training camp, not catching the ball well. Route running was kind of off, but he comes out to the game, caught everything thrown his way. A couple big catches. He had 2 receptions, 73 yards. I think he had was it 50? He did have one big catch. I don't think they were both big catches. I think it was one big catch, and the other one's a little bit shorter. We'll take a look at it though. Yeah, he had a long of 44. So yeah, so both catches, a decent chunk of yards, 4 targets. But yeah, he had a nice game there. Good for him. A lot of pressure on Trey Tucker as he's fighting for that third receiver spot. And it's I would say it's his. It's Trey Tucker's, but he's you don't know Jalen Guyton. What's he going to show out there? DJ Turner, he's pushing for playing time as well. So now with Brock Bowers on the team, he's going to take some looks away from Trey Tucker. So it's going to be Trey Tucker's going to have to ball out. Jacoby Myers, he looked good. Like we thought he would. Jacoby Myers, great pickup last season. Had a really really good season last year for the Raiders. Glad he's on our side. But he had 3 catches, 45 yards. Brock Bowers again, making his debut. He had a couple catches, 25 yards. He looked good. I can't wait to see really him getting rolling. Michael Mayer getting rolling here. I like to see some passes getting to both guys. The one thing, speaking of receivers, tight end that we picked up this past offseason. What the hell's his name now? Harrison Bryant. He got lit up. Terrible pass by Gardner Minshew. And this was the one big thing about Gardner Minshew I didn't like was how he kind of left his receiver out to dry, and he just got. I don't know who lit him up, who lit Harrison Bryant up, but he got lit up. I don't know what his status is, if he was hurt after that. I don't remember seeing the rest of the game, but he went down. He went down hard, and my first thought was he looked like he might have been knocked out, but he was moving right away, but he wasn't getting up right away either. So I don't know if he had any more snaps in the rest of that game or not. We'll have to wait to see what the injury report looks like coming out and see if he's on that or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's on there with concussion or something like that. But yeah, he got destroyed. But with him getting hurt, that led to a little bit more playing time for Cole Fotheringham, and I like him. He's somebody that's been around with the Raiders for a couple of years now, mostly practice squad and preseason champion kind of guy. Where he does get most of his looks, most of his catches are all in the preseason because he's a practice squad guy, where he's like very very low on the depth chart. But I do like him. It's something I talked about last year when the Raiders weren't getting much production from the tight end position. Michael Mayer, and it wasn't his fault. There was no production coming out of the quarterback. The quarterback either didn't have time to get the ball out, or just knucklehead type decisions, throwing interceptions or whatever, what have you. Jimmy G and Aiden O'Connell learning, being a rookie and stuff. But I was pushing for Cole Fotheringham to get a little bit more time last year. Give the dude a look. What's it going to hurt? Unfortunately, they did not. But they did bring him back, and I'd like to see him make a roster. If Bryant's hurt, that means Fotheringham has a shot, and maybe to make the roster as a 3 or a 4. All right. So we have Kim saying, I have a feeling by week 6, Minshew will be on the bench and O'Connell will be back in. All I know is they better win December 22nd. December 22nd. What is the game on December 22nd? I do not have the schedule right here in front of me, but I am going to look it up there, Kim. I don't know if they let it go that long, to be honest with you, for either quarterback. I feel like if, let's say, Aid O'Connell's your starting quarterback, I feel like he has 3 games. Same with Gardner Minshew. I would say 3 games, to kind of put out there what they can do. And then after that, so let's take a look here. December 22nd. That is Jacksonville. Oh, is that that's the game you're going to? That's right. I remember now. See, I forgot. Kim, I forgot. Now that is the game you're going to. A terrific gift from your daughter. I hope my daughter is watching this and she remembers her dear old dad when she gets older and gets me tickets to go see the Raiders or something like that, and treats me as well as Jocelyn treats you. I'm jealous. I can tell you that. I can tell you that right now. But I envision myself being out in Las Vegas within the next 3 years to see a Raiders game, even if it's just just out in Las Vegas for a weekend or whatever, just to get the game and flying back home. But I do envision that happening. But back to the point. I think each quarterback gets a couple weeks. I think 6 weeks. I think that's too much. I think that is when the bye week is. I think after week 6. But I don't think it goes that long. I think if they're struggling, if they're struggling, I think it's going to be a quicker hook. I'd say 3 weeks, and then the decision's made. 5, 6. So week 6 is is versus Pittsburgh in Las Vegas, and after that they have the Rams. Looks like the bye week comes in week 10. So I think it's quicker hook than that. Adam Glenn checking in. What's up, Adam? Thanks for checking out the show. Thank you for coming. You check Adam out on the Atomic Drop podcast, talking WWE wrestling. Paul says, I'd like to see double tight ends. I'd like to see double tight end sets with Myers and Bowers to get downfield. It's a pure mismatch on nickel corners and linebackers. Yeah, I hope that's how they do it, how they use it. I really do. How they use both those tight ends. Because you have one, Brock Bowers, that's a dynamic pass catching tight end. Then you have another in Michael Mayer, who's a well above average pass catching tight end. So you have 2 tight ends that are well above average. One that's basically a wide receiver, and the other is just way above average receiving tight end. And hopefully they use that weapon, because tight ends are such a great weapon for a quarterback. One, that a quarterback that's under pressure a lot, and 2, a quarterback that's struggling with confidence. You get those passes, big bodied tight end like a Michael Mayer, doing some sort of in cut or drag across the middle, or just finding an open spot in his zone and just making himself big there. And those little 8-yard receptions turn into 12-yard, 15-yard receptions, and turns into confidence, and all of a sudden snowballs in a good way into several completions in a row or whatever. The same thing, an outlet to a running back. You hear that a lot in football, especially when they bring a quarterback gets benched, they bring in another quarterback or whatever. They start him off with an easy throw to the running back to build confidence, they say, or to get him to settle in. The tight ends can be used the same exact way, and there's no reason why both these tight ends shouldn't have big seasons. No reason. So I'm excited for the 2 for the double tight end sets. And Brock Bowers, I guarantee he's going to be split out a lot. And I have no doubt that I have no doubt that we will see Brock Bowers in the backfield as well. He did a lot. He did some of that in Georgia. So I have no doubt that we see him doing that with the Raiders. We're going to see that dude all over the field. Michael Mayer, I think, is a little bit bigger, thicker. He's more of a closer to a traditional type tight end. Not quite all the way there. Harrison Bryant is our traditional tight end if he's healthy. Was more block than catch. Michael Mayer is more catch than block, but he can block. And Brock Bowers, he can block, but not as good as Michael Mayer. And but he can catch, really, really well and run routes. He's fast, and he is a big dude too. So good stuff there. Vegas Rob says Vegas Rob in the Bat Fry invade Allegiant Stadium. Let me know when you come. Like I said, Rob, a couple of years yet. I feel like I'm wearing down the wife on this one, so it's gonna happen. It's gonna take a little bit longer yet. Paul says can't bench Minshew versus Jags. That's the team that made Minshew mania. Correct. I mean, if he starts out as your number one, week one, he makes it all the way to December 22nd as your starting quarterback, then I think that things are going very, very well for the Raiders. Or really, really bad, which means that Minshew started, got a couple games, got benched. Aiden O'Connell did really bad, so they went back to Minshew. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully if it's Minshew against the Jaguars, hopefully he started week one and things have been going very good and he's still the starter then. But that would be nice to see Minshew against the Jaguars, the birthplace of Minshew mania, the mustache, the handlebar mustache, and all that good stuff. And I like Gardner Minshew, I really do. I think he's a decent quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. None of these quarterbacks are elite quarterbacks on the roster. But I like his swagger. I like the goofiness, and I like the almost kind of gunslinger attitude. I'm not going to say like Kenny Stabler, like the Snake, but he does move well in the pocket, kind of like the Snake. Snake did it from all video that I've seen. I've never seen the Snake play in person, or on TV. Just old video clips, and usually they're highlights, so you don't see the bad stuff, you see the good stuff. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I like Minshew, and again, I think Minshew. I do think deep down in my gut that he will be your number one quarterback going into week one. But I do like Aiden O'Connell's arm talent, accuracy and stuff. So still touch and go. The stomach is telling me Minshew, the heart's telling me O'Connell, the brain is telling me it's tired. So don't listen to brain. Brock is the hybrid tight end, can do anything. I had him. He's going to be, I like to say, I don't want to say he's going to be like, who's that? Debo. He's not, I don't think he's going to be as dynamic as what Debo Samuels is for 49ers, but I feel like that's how the Raiders are going to use him. And he's going to make plays. He is going to make plays, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to see how he lines up, where he lines up. And it's going to keep defenses on their toes. And it's going to open up so many different other avenues for other players. It's going to open up stuff for Devontae, for Jacoby, for Michael Mayer, for Trey Tucker. Just seeing Brock Bowers, in the backfield or whatever, it's just it's going to create havoc. It really is. So, hand the ball off to him a couple times so it keeps the defense honest. All good things come out of that. Listed as top 4 player in the draft. Yeah, it fell right into our lap, and a lot of people were shocked, including myself, that we took him. But after they took him, you sit back and you think about it, like, what? Well, one of the biggest issues we had last season was offensive production, and as a whole, offensive production. I don't know, I'm kind of stuttering there a little bit, but as a whole, offensive production was terrible last season. A hard time scoring over 20 points a game. That's straight up garbage. And so they got basically one of the top offensive weapons in the draft, if not the top offensive weapon. That's not a quarterback. Well, some of those wide receivers are really good, but like Paul said, listed as a top 4 player in a draft. So, you have to think that maybe a defensive player or quarterback and maybe a receiver ranked ahead of him, or maybe an offensive lineman. But top 4. I mean, I think the Raiders made out pretty well with Brock Bowers there at, what was it, 13 or 12 or 13, whatever our pick was. So, Robert Bruce checking in. Hater still around. Not sure who Hater is, but I'm sure he's still around. Offensive line play didn't look terrible for the ones. Andrews Pete, he did get beat once or twice. I do remember seeing a couple replays there, but overall it wasn't bad. I thought Thayer Mumford, he did all right. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, no, I do think I know who you're talking about. He's a big time Raider fan. Met him a few years ago on one of the streams. I feel like I was listening to Locked On Raiders podcast. Was it Sunday? Well, yesterday was Sunday. So yeah, it was Sunday, and they had a caller. His name was Raider Hater. So I wonder if that's the same guy or not. But if it is, he's still around. But yeah, they one of the great fan bases in all the league. The Raider fan base, just all the different names. Vader Raider, and of course you have Gorilla Rilla. He's the most famous one now. The Violator, he's still around. I know there was one or two of the bigger named Raider fans that are well known. One or two of them did pass away this past off season. I do remember seeing that on the X. So, but I don't think Raider Hater was one of them. I do believe he is still around. Rob says, like Michael Mayer, looking forward to see him step up. Yeah, and I do believe Mayer will step up this season. I don't think he's going to have any sort of like super season, 80 catches, 1,000 yards, something like that. But I do think he's going to have something respectable, like a 40 catch season, 800 yards or not 800 yards, 40 catches, like a 500, 600 yard season. So I do think that there's that possibility for him. It's there. He is talented enough where he can do it. It's just, can the Raiders get him out into routes? Do they need him to stay in and block? It's going to depend a lot on the offensive line. And I think that's also going to depend a lot on who the quarterback is. I think if Minshew's in, you're going to see a lot more of the both tight ends in routes. I think if O'Connell's in, because he's less mobile, you're going to see a tight end having to stay in. So that's that. Robert says, you remember Mark Van Egan, Raiders fullback? He was, get the heck out of here. That's crazy. So Mark Van Egan, so he was he early 80s or was he in the 70s? I was born in 1980. So there's a whole, like, I missed all the good Raider stuff. Like the best Raider time for me would have been early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. The Raiders made the Super Bowl and got throttled, and ever since then it's been hell. So, but the 2000 team the Raiders had, where they, I think it was 2000, where we lost to Baltimore. It was 2000. We lost to Baltimore, and that was in Oakland. That's the Saragusa flop when he crushed poor Rich Gannon. And then the 2001 was the Snow Bowl, the creation of Tom Brady and the Patriots. They're in New England. I remember that one. And 2002 was the season the Raiders went to the Super Bowl. And that was the Gruden Bowl, and we all know what happened since then. So, college football frenzy at Out of the Box Sports. You guys got a steal with Brock Bowers, Jackson Powers, and late round Tommy Eichenberg. I can't wait to see Eichenberg really get in there and start mixing it up. Sometime throughout the season, you're going to see Eichenberg as a starter. I have no doubt. JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, I was talking about offensive lineman before, he's still on the PUP list. He has a couple weeks yet before he has to be off of it or he misses the first 4 games. It was a concussion. I thought it was some sort of lingering injury from college. That's some of the rumors that I was hearing, but according to Q, who does the Locked On Raiders podcast, he's saying it was concussion. They're just waiting for him to get cleared. So they're expecting him to be cleared within the next week or so. They said he's been working out, just hasn't been cleared for full contact yet. And the same thing with Colton Miller. They're expecting him he's coming rehabbing from off-season shoulder surgery. So he's working his way back, and they're expecting them to be back this week sometime, this week or next week. But definitely before that deadline. I want to say it's August 27th, but I could be wrong. I could be just making that up. I'm not really sure. But I'm excited to see JPJ out there, Jackson Powers Johnson. Get him there at guard, and let's see what he can do. They said, from all reports that I've heard, with him missing time, that mentally he's there. He knows what he's doing mentally, physically. They have to see what he's got. So, basically he's missed all of training camp. Not sure how he got the concussion, but got a concussion. Okay, so Mark Van Egan was in the 80s, and that's what I thought. I was thinking, I feel like I remember watching some of the Super Bowl films. I particularly the one against the Redskins. I feel like he had some big plays in that game. I could be wrong, but yeah, I do remember the name. Unfortunately, again, I was still, as they say, as my dad used to say, you're still shit and yellow. So I was still just a little baby. Which, when I became a dad, I understood the reference then. Well, I'm in my 40s. And I can't remember anything, Robert. I'm telling you what, Robert, I struggle with my memory power. I forget a lot of stuff. There's just some things that I remember, and I don't know why I remember. There's some stuff that I don't remember, and I get a refresher or I see something, and all of a sudden it does click. I'm like, oh, why can't I remember that? And it's a bummer, but it's great to see that you're in your 60s and you remember a lot. That's good. Also, Jim Plunkett played for New England, and then he went to the Raiders and won 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, and so and that's one of the things where you talk about Hall of Fame, type things. You hear a lot about Eli Manning. Should Eli Manning be considered for a Hall of Fame? He won 2 Super Bowls, yes, but statistically, not the greatest quarterback. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? So that goes with Jim Plunkett. Won 2 Super Bowls, the Raiders in the twilight of his career against the Redskins and the Eagles, and both I believe both those under Coach Tom Flores, if I remember correctly. Yeah, John Madden won the one. I believe Coach Flores won the next 2. So yeah, does that mean that Jim Plunkett, should be considered for a Hall of Fame? Off statistics wise, I don't think. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look for sure, but I don't think he was statistically a very good quarterback. But when it came down to it, he took the Raiders to the promised land 2 more times. So, but yeah, that his name comes up a lot for pro Hall of Fame. I don't know if I said Hall of Fame before, but for Hall of Fame snubs, and I'm not really sure if he's one of those guys that should be considered or not. I'd have to go back and look at his stats again. But I know they were a big underdog for that game against Washington. They were a huge underdog. I've watched the NFL films. And that's one of the things I like when it's Super Bowl time. NFL Network will play NFL films, all of the past Super Bowls, and I like watching the past Raider one, especially that Washington one, how they just absolutely throttled them. They had that big Marcus Allen run and stuff, and the interception by can't remember who the linebacker is right now off the top of my head, but it was in the Redskins side of the field. It was something that burnt them earlier in the season. There's a whole story to it. That play, when the Raiders played the Redskins earlier in the season, the Redskins beat them. I think they throttled them, and that screen pass uh, was busted for a big gain or a touchdown during a regular season. They remember that, and they seen it set up, and they read it perfectly. And whoever that linebacker was, I can't remember, took it to the house for a touchdown. All good stuff, all good memories. We haven't had too many good memories recently with the Raiders, so you have to go back. We have to, Dallas Cowboy fans, they get their balls busted all the time. All their Super Bowls are on VHS tapes. I always say all the Raiders Super Bowl wins are on reel to reel, old style camera. You have to put the reel on and the other reel. You gotta wind them together, and it starts flickering. And you have to have the white, thing come down. The white screen come down. That's how long it's been for the Raiders. Yes, and Tom Flores is in the Super Bowl now. He was voted into the Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl, the Hall of Fame. God bless it. Coach Flores was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I believe, 2 years ago. I could be wrong about that time, but I do believe he was voted into the Hall of Fame recently. Let me look that up real quick. It was in, does not say. Where is it? Pro Football Hall of Fame, Tom Flores. Class of 2021. So yeah, so it was pretty recent. The playoff win percentage is 72.7%, 12 seasons as the coach, 105 wins. That's some pretty good stuff there. So yeah, so 2021 he went into the Hall of Fame, and it was long overdue. Long overdue. Yeah, he should have been much earlier than that. That's just one of those things. I loved watching Lyle Alzado and Howie Long when they were at their prime. And so, Robert, I'm assuming this is probably the first time you checked out the show, but you can see up there the top of the page, right where it says Silver and Black. Of course, I have Howie Long there, and Howie Long is why I'm a Raiders fan. When I played Pee Wee football, one of my coaches' name was Howie, and this, as the story goes, the legend goes. He was one of my favorite coaches, and so I heard of Howie Long then, and so I became a Howie Long fan. I became a Raiders fan, and that's how it's been ever since. I think that was, I would say, 1989 or 1990, somewhere around there. And ever since then, I've been bleeding silver and black. And I don't remember much of Lyle Alzado playing. I like, again, NFL films is a godsend. I do. I'll watch highlights and clips from NFL films and stuff like that. So, and the dude was a monster. He was a maniac. He was a perfect Raider. You hear a lot about the steroids and all that stuff, and I can tell you right now, you go back and the majority of those guys were on steroids or illegal substances. Besides your recreational drugs. I'm talking like illegal substances like steroids and HGH and stuff like that. But he brought it out to light more, and he's the one that put the spotlight on it. As he was dying of cancer and stuff. So, and it's about time for Tom Flores. Yeah, and it's you know what? That's one of those things. Like when Kenny the Snake Stabler was voted into the Hall of Fame, it was too late. It was one of those things. Like the Snake was absolutely positively deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, and they just drugged their feet for so many years with it, and then they wait till the man dies, and then they induct him to the Hall of Fame. It's like, that is the most ridiculous thing. Like, do it when these guys are alive. Like they deserve to be in there. They deserve to be in there. Snake is one of the most transcendent quarterbacks from the 70s and stuff. One of the best quarterbacks from the 70s, one of the best teams from the 70s. Like, how does that guy not make it into the Hall of Fame sooner is beyond me. Now, you can't compare stats from the 60s and 70s to stats of today. You can't do it. It's just a different game, different rules, all that stuff. And I don't know if that was the issue, because you go back and look at Snake's stats, and it's kind of like, well, his stats aren't all that great, but you go back and compare his stats to other quarterbacks at that time, and it was near the top. So I mean, I don't get it. Plus he was Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl champion, and so many different named plays. The Sea of Hands play, goes to the post, all that good stuff. It doesn't make sense. It's when they wait and the guy's passed away, it just drives me absolutely nuts. Kills me. I said, yes, this is my first time I'm going to subscribe to your channel. New England fan, but closet Raiders fan. That's fantastic. I appreciate it very much, Robert. Tell all your friends that might be Raiders fans or even New England fans. To be 100% honest with you, Robert, if you know anybody, that might be interested in doing a podcast about the Patriots, shoot us a message. We'll get them on and we'll help them out and all that good stuff. But yeah, I appreciate it very much. Thanks for subscribing. And I tell you, there are a lot of closet Raider fans out there. There are a lot of closet Raider fans that are fans of one team, but especially older people. I'm not saying that you're old, but like about your age group that were alive and able to see the Raiders of the 70s and early 80s and stuff. It was a different time back then in professional football, different attitude, and it was a different game. And there's so many different people I talk to that are fans of other teams. But when they said, but I say, I'm a Raider fan too, just because of the 70s and stuff. So those Raider teams in the 70s, with under John Madden and stuff were nasty. So again, I appreciate it very much. And from this week forward, I'll be live every week talking Raiders now that the season has started. I did take a couple weeks off, but now we're rocking and rolling, buddy. All right. So moving on from that, back to offensive line play. Real quick before I duck out of here and go to bed. Again, first team offensive line looked all right. Didn't look terrible. There were some times where the run blocking was kind of pass blocking broke down a little bit. But for the most part, I thought they did well. Missing their left tackle, missing their left guard. It didn't do bad. But then when poor what's Anthony Brown, I think his name is, third string quarterback, gets in there, he got absolutely destroyed. No time to set up and pass. And as soon as he's getting the ball, they're in the backfield after him. Running the ball was nearly impossible. Sincere McCormick did a decent job with that. Dylan Labe or Labe, whatever the hell you want to call him, he didn't do a bad job running either. So the depth is a huge question right now for me. That's my biggest disappointment, biggest takeaway on the minus side of things from this first preseason game was where's the depth? There was no depth, talent wise. And if that's what we got, depth wise, we're in a lot of trouble. So you'll have a great day as well there, Robert. Take care of yourself. I hope to hear from you again next Monday. Next Monday I'll be on 11 a.m. again, Eastern time. I'm not sure if you're a New England fan, maybe you're East Coast as well. So check me out again next Monday, and check out all of our shows here on Out of the Box Sports. We have a whole slew of them. I do a Mets show on Wednesday mornings as well. I'll be live Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. If you're into baseball or not. We have a Cowboys show. We have a Washington Commanders show. We have UFC show, wrestling, professional wrestling show, baseball, 4for4 Philadelphia show. NFL Pick'em show on Thursdays. So be sure to check out our schedule. Robert, follow us on X, Facebook. We'll put the schedules out there, And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Like I said, have a great day, and we appreciate it. So depth is going to be a huge issue. I think a huge concern. Again, it's only the first game, so first preseason game. Take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is. Some guys are out still. All right. So, last thing I want to do real quick is throw out a couple grades. Aiden O'Connell, I give him a B. Again, I thought he played well. That sack hurts a little bit, but you kind of understand it. You just gotta either run the ball forward instead of just rolling back, and getting losing chunks of yardage. Throw it away if you have to. Throw it away, and excellent. Throw it away or do something with it. You just can't keep dropping back and just getting sacked. You're guys, they're gonna start strip sacking. There's a lot of talented players on the defensive side of the ball, very fast, very strong, and they mean harm to you. So I give Aiden a B. Gardner Minshew, I give him a B as well. They're even. It's going to be hard to find somebody out there that's going to say definitively that one guy's ahead of the other guy. Again, I said with my gut, I feel like Gardner's going to be your week 1 starter. With my heart's going with Aiden. So that's where we're at right now. So a couple B's for the quarterbacks. Receivers, I give an A. I thought they did great. Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, all good stuff. Offensive line, I'll give a C+. The starting offensive line, not bad. A couple breakdowns, but again, we're missing a couple key pieces there. The just subscribe. Thank you, Robert. Anybody else out there watching, please go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'd be much appreciated. We'd be very grateful if you did. So the depth there is just not there. Second, third, fourth string guys, not very good at all. Week 1, preseason game 1. So defensively, I'd give a B-. Really had a struggle against the run for whatever reason. The first team defense struggled against the run. They bent, but they didn't break. So nice 20-7 halftime lead. Defense, felt like they kind of started getting together. Jack Jones had a great game. A couple bass breakups, an interception. Ja'Cory Bennett had that pass breakup in the end zone on that first drive the Vikings had as well. So there were some good things. And again, I think a lot of this stuff is all vanilla type defenses and offensive sets. You're not going to see a whole lot of squirreliness going on because you don't want to put that stuff on film for other teams to scout you. But yeah, I'll give the defense a B-. Special teams, punting wise, AJ Cole, decent job there. He was able to get a couple boomers off and pin him back a couple times. What am I thinking of now? I had a brain fart. Oh, all the time. It just goes blank. I don't know what it is. Is it night shift that's doing this? I don't know. It just goes blank. And I'm going to kick myself as soon as I see his name, because I know what his name is, but I just can't think of it. Daniel Carlson. God bless it. I could picture him. I see him in my head. Just couldn't think of his name. Brother plays for the Packers. I remember all that stuff. But anyway, a couple field goals. One long field goal in the 50. I think it was 56-yarder, 58-yarder, something like that. What was it? 56-yarder. Good job there. Kickoff wise, we got some stuff to work on yet there. We did get a penalty thrown because it didn't reach the landing zone. So even as a fan, we have a lot to learn yet with the rules for kickoffs and kickoff returns and stuff. So that's going to be a work in progress. So Special teams wise, I'll give them a B plus. I thought for the most part they did very, very well, which they usually do. Daniel Carlson's a really good kicker. AJ Cole's a fantastic punter. So return wise, the Raiders had a couple okay returns. I think that's going to be one of our big things moving forward as we get better and better at special teams. I think our return game is going to be a huge plus. You know, whether it's Trey Tucker, Dylan Labe back there, you know, somebody with some shiftiness and speed. It's going to be interesting to see how teams play that against the Raiders. I feel like we have the speed and the quickness to bust some plays open, maybe get some decent field position. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and do our sponsor read here real quick, and I'm going to go over our schedule, Out of the Box Sports. And our sponsor, of course, is Jason Fine, J Fine Law, Attorney Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, his offices are located on 500 Grand Street, Suite 2900. And the phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in Philadelphia, the offices are located 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. And the phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's our boy, Jason Fine, Attorney Big Al. All right. So we got our schedule. You have me here at 11 a.m. Tonight at 6 p.m., you have the Soli Squad. And then 8:30 p.m. after the Soli Squad, you will have Inside the Octagon. And like I said earlier, Paul had mentioned that what they'll be covering, UFC, 3,000 million. UFC's been going on forever, so it's up there. Let me find it here real quick. Yes. Talking UFC 305 from this weekend and some boxing events from this past weekend. So be sure to check that out. So again, Soli Squad, talking Philadelphia sports, Inside the Octagon, talking UFC 305 and some boxing from this past weekend. That's at 8:30. Tuesday, 7 p.m. extra innings, talking Major League Baseball. 8:30 p.m. Commanders Gridiron, talking Washington Commanders football. Wednesday, 11 a.m., I will be live again with the Batcave, talking New York Mets baseball. That's going to be an interesting one. 8:05, college football frenzy for all you college football fans at 9:30 p.m. Dem 215 boys talking Cowboy football. Thursday, 6 p.m., NFL Pick'em. Talking NFL football, and they'll be going over their picks. Friday, 8 p.m., Big Blue Power Hour. Then at 10:30 p.m., the Atomic Drop podcast, talking WWE wrestling. Like I said, I will not be on this week. This is my work weekend, and I will be at work. So, all right. So that's all I have for today. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that checked the show out. Thank you to those that commented. Big shout out to Robert Bruce. Robert the Bruce, you know, that's the old Scottish king, right? You know, if you've ever seen Braveheart. I also seen there's another movie. There's a Netflix movie. I can't remember what the exact name of it was. It was something King, the Rebel King, or something like that. I think it was called The Rebel King. A fantastic. I thought it was a great movie. I ain't gonna say it was low budget, but it definitely wasn't the same budget as what Braveheart was. But yeah, it follows Robert the Bruce and his ascension to the crown, and some of the mistakes that were made by him. After he got the crown, and some of the fallout to being the king and stuff like that, and it was really interesting. There also was some talk of William Wallace, but it's not centered around William Wallace. It was centered around Robert Bruce. So it was actually a pretty cool movie. I dug it. So if you have a chance, if you have Netflix, go ahead and check that out. If you're into that kind of stuff, if you're into Braveheart, I'd say go and check this movie out. I think it was called The Rebel King. Paul says, great show. Gold standard right here. The gold standard. Silver and gold. Or silver and black. Here we go. The silver and black standard. All right, so that's all I have for today. I am going to bed. I am very tired. I'm overly tired. And that's that. So thank you, everybody. Next Monday, same time, same bat channel. 11 a.m. again next Monday, as my daughter has soccer practice 8 to 10 the next 2 weeks before school starts, and then it'll be back to normal time, 10 a.m. Check me out this Wednesday, 11 a.m. with the Bat Cave, talking New York Mets baseball. All right, I will talk to you guys then. See you guys Wednesday, and remember, just win, baby. See ya.